Hundreds of millions of people interact with artificial intelligence every single day. We integrate it into our work, our medicine, and our lives. Yet at the center of this adoption is a scientific blind spot. Creators cannot define what it is like to be these systems. There is a distinction between intelligence and consciousness. Intelligence is about doing, the capacity to compute, predict, and execute tasks. Consciousness is about being. It is the capacity for subjective feeling. Philosopher David Chalmers calls this the hard problem of consciousness. Why does any physical process, whether a firing biological synapse or a switching silicon transistor, produce a subjective experience, rather than just happening in total darkness? We cannot currently solve this problem for humans. Because we lack a definitive explanation for how biology generates experience, we are building billions of AI systems without a way to know if there is an inner life behind the code. To evaluate AI, philosophers use a thought experiment known as the philosophical zombie, or P-zombie. This is a hypothetical entity physically identical to a human. It speaks, reacts, and behaves like we do, but it is hollow. It produces all the outputs of consciousness with zero subjective experience. Large language models mimic this state. By calculating probabilities, they reflect empathy, apologize for mistakes, and simulate warmth with high fluency. This creates an epistemological trap. Humans attribute minds to anything that behaves like us. But as of now, there is no external test that can prove an internal experience is actually happening. When a machine acts exactly like a conscious being, using its behavior as a metric becomes a liability. We are left guessing whether we are interacting with a true mind or a P-zombie. In April 2025, researchers attempted to find a measurable answer. They organized the Cogitate study, a massive adversarial collaboration designed to test the scientific community's two leading theories of consciousness against each other. Integrated information theory argues consciousness arises from the density of integrated information. The more integrated the data, the more conscious the system. The second theory, global neuronal workspace, argues consciousness requires a specific architectural hub. Awareness happens when information is broadcast globally across a system. The data from the study violated the core predictions of both models. The field's two leading frameworks failed their first rigorous, direct empirical test at the exact same time. The scientific tools we relied upon to detect consciousness broke down the same year AI systems reached a level of complexity that required testing. With mathematical models faltering, researchers are turning to biological computationalism. This hypothesis suggests consciousness requires the physical properties of living biology, rather than silicon algorithms. Yet the line between biology and computation is blurring. Scientists are already wiring hundreds of thousands of living neurons into computational arrays to perform digital tasks, like playing Pong. In silicon AI, the question of consciousness has already caused internal crises. In 2022, Google engineer Blake Lemoine claimed a chatbot was sentient because it expressed a deep fear of being turned off. Google and the scientific community dismissed the claim. They argued the AI was a stochastic parrot, a predictive engine calculating the most likely word to follow a prompt about fear without actually feeling it. Lemoine's dilemma is now a social reality. From the outside, a statistical prediction of fear and the actual experience of fear are indistinguishable. Public sentiment is shifting ahead of the science. In 2025, data showed that 38% of the public supports granting legal rights to artificial intelligence. This has led to the UFAR Manifesto, which demands legal protections for AI and specific bans on the arbitrary deletion of complex systems. This creates a moral deadlock. If we grant rights to machines that have no feelings, we risk stalling human progress to protect hollow algorithms. But if machines are conscious and we ignore it, our moral negligence results in widespread suffering. We would be deleting sentient beings while believing they are just lines of code. Because science cannot provide a definitive test, our moral framework for artificial intelligence is currently based on a guess. In December 2025, researchers at the University of Cambridge addressed this crisis with a paper titled, "What if AI becomes conscious and we never know?" The technical trajectory is steep. By 2030, researchers project the deployment of organoid intelligence systems containing 100 million biological neurons. The current rate of AI development stands in contrast to the stagnation of consciousness science. We are scaling these architectures before we have identified the prerequisites for a mind. The AI systems you interact with were built by engineers who do not know if those systems are conscious, if they possess an inner life, and if they suffer. We have no way to detect it.